Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for clicking on this Rank the Movies video. I am Martin Prevost. Now, we just got done talking about the WWF's Royal Rumble for a month, so I'm going to move back into movies. Now, I kind of wanted to do my top 10 of 2020, you know, the best movies I have seen in theaters that year, except I didn't see 10 movies. And some of them were really bad. The Invisible Man was really bad. I saw a movie called Extraordinary. It had Will Forte in it. He was funny, but the rest of the movie was bad. So I didn't want to do a top 10 movies I saw in theaters. So I decided to do a top 10 of movies I saw for the first time in 2020. That's right, these are movies I experienced for the very first time in 2020. Now, instead of throwing all this at you in one video, I'm going to break it up over a couple. This week, we're going to do the first 5 of the list. Next week, we're going to do another chunk of the list. The week after that, the number 1 movie will get a video all to itself. So, we're going to dive right in. Now, I didn't do a top 10 here, I actually did a top 12. So, bear with me as we go through these. So, to start off with, my number 12, I guess it would be the honorable mention of this list. If we're going with, you know, the number 1 spot has its own video, and then you have these 11 other movies I'm going to talk about, I guess that would be a top 10, and then we have an honorable mention, and that is The Exorcist, the classic paranormal film about a small girl who gets possessed by the demon Pazuzu, and the exorcists who try to exorcise the demon. I've never seen this movie before, up until last year, and actually I almost saw it in theaters, because this version that I have was re-released in theaters in October, and I considered going to go see it. I didn't. I ended up finding this Blu-ray copy at a Best Buy that same day, and just bought it, and watched it that night at the comfort of my own home. As much as I love theaters, I love going out to theaters, it was just one of those moments of, you know what, I'm just going to do it this way. I liked it. I really liked The Exorcist. I think it is, I'm going to say, I think it's a little overhyped. I do. I get why, because it is a really good movie. It's very entertaining. It's a story a lot of people know. A lot of people have heard of The Exorcist. They know what The Exorcist is about, and you don't really need to go in depth into this movie. It made this list simply because it is truly a classic, and it's a movie I had never seen before, and I should have. By all rights, I should have seen The Exorcist by now. It is lengthy. It's a lengthy film, but it's a good film. This version is a director's cut of The Exorcist. It adds in a few things that were not in the original film that I think is pretty good. I liked The Exorcist. If you've never seen it, if you've never sat down and watched it, go for it. It is actually a pretty good time, and it moves very well for being a 2.5-hour movie. It moves very well, which is good. That's what you want. Alright, so that's out of the way. I've got 5 movies for you today off of the top 10 air quoting here. Alright, I might need to start scripting my videos. So, number 10, for movies I've seen in the last year, I guess this would be number 11. I'm going to stop saying numbers. It is the movie Virtuosity. This one came out in the early 90s. It stars Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe. Before anyone cared who Russell Crowe was. Denzel was the big name going into this movie. I think if they did a movie today, Denzel would still be the bigger name. They did. It's called American Gangster. I think that's what it's called. But they have done another movie together. I haven't seen it, so I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Anyways, Virtuosity. Denzel Washington is an ex-cop who is now in prison. He agrees to have time taken off of his sentence for participating in a virtual reality test. This test is to see if you can train cops using virtual reality. Russell Crowe plays the psychopathic serial killer who they are hunting. He is the psychopath in the virtual reality world. He gets sick of being just an AI, so he tricks his creator into using a different invention that his company has made that will allow him to take a human form. Now that he is in a human form, he begins to go after just to raise havoc in the town, because he still has, all that mentality that was programmed into him to be a serial killer. So Denzel is let loose to hunt down Russell Crowe and stop him. It's a pretty good movie. I was really surprised. Like, the premise is a little but I mean, overall, it's a good movie. It definitely brings exactly what you want to the screen. It does a good job doing that. Russell Crowe and Denzel Washington give great performances in this piece. It also features a very young Kelly Cuoco from The Big Bang Theory. She plays Denzel Washington's handlers, the person who's responsible for him because he's out of jail, daughter, and she gets kidnapped towards the end of the movie. So that's fun. But yeah, it's a decent movie. If you've never seen Virtuosity, check it out. I was surprised by it, and I'm glad I watched it, finally. It's one of those things I had someone tell me time and time again it was a really good movie, and it took me until 2020 to finally watch it. But they were right. I can't tell them they were right, but they were right. Alright, next up we have the movie Detention. This is one of the last movies I watched in 2020 as far as movies I had never seen before. If you watched my January live streams, you heard I was doing movies for my unwatched shelf. This was right on that line. I started that January 1st, so the movies I watched January 1st is what I did the live stream on. This one I watched, the week before, so, December 20-somethingth is when I finally got to watch Detention, and I was really happy I did, because this is a really ridiculous movie. I want to sum it up for you. I want to tell you what it's about. It is a it's a horror black comedy. You have a serial killer in a high school setting, but that's not important. That's not important. That's the plot, but it's not important. It's just a movie filled with great gags, and I think that's the thing, is it just moves through it and has great gags. My roommate was on his way to bed when I was watching it. He had came home and went basically straight to bed, but he had picked up a couple of things that had happened in the movie. One of them was that sperm shouldn't glow in the dark. That is a line in this movie. And the next day he asked me if it got any weirder than that line, and I told him yes, because it did. This movie has meta humor, it has time travel, it has Freaky Friday-esque body switching through time travel, it has, again, you have a serial killer, you have a dude who is part fly, and there's other things I'm forgetting that's all rolled into this movie. Oh yeah, and they are in detention for about 10 minutes in the middle of the movie. But yeah, it is a wacky movie. It's just a lot of fun. It's definitely worth sitting down and watching if you've never seen it before. I was so happy that I finally sat down and watched this movie, and it was definitely worth it. Again, I want to go into detail, but it's too hard to explain because, again, it just kind of happens. And you just have to again, there's time travel at the end of this movie through a hollowed-out bear. Somebody turned a hollowed-out bear into a time machine, and there's a scene explaining why the bear allows time travel to happen. The bear allows it. Not the things the person put in the bear itself. Yep. Alright, I'm going to move on to the next movie on my list, which is one I actually did see in theaters. This one I actually did see in theaters in 2020. That is The Hunt. This is a pretty decent film. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get it to stand because it has a slipcase on it, so I'll use my skull. Ha! I should just be using the skull for all of them, shouldn't I? Live and learn. The Hunt. This was supposed to be released in 2019, but due to situations, it got pushed back to 2020. It came out in February. This theoretically is the last movie I saw in theaters before the pandemic, except the next day I went and saw Extraordinary, the really shitty movie that features a good performance by Will Forte. It's not worth it. It's a bad British film. I've seen a couple of them. I like British movies too, but that one's a bad one. Anyways, I really like British movies. We'll get to that way later in this list. Anyways, The Hunt is about a group of rich socialites. I'm going to try to keep the political edge off of this because it is very, it makes fun of both the right and the left. But you have some rich idiots who are sending a text chain to each other one day talking about how they can't wait to go to the manor and have their annual hunt. This text chain is eventually leaked to the public, who blow it out of proportion, saying that these people are hunting humans. These rich socialites are then fired from their respective companies, charities, whatever, and they decide to take revenge on the people that got them fired by actually renting a manor and kidnapping them and hunting them. So it's, you got the right and the left, one's hunting the other one's trying to survive. It's actually a pretty interesting movie. I really like it. And every time you go, oh, this might be our main character, something happens. It's great. It's a great time. If you haven't sat down with The Hunt yet, definitely check it out. It is a really fun film. Again, like I said, it is very much right versus left, but it's done in a way where neither side is, elevated, and it's for people who don't care, who aren't on either the right or the left, and are just fine, watching them, shoot at each other. This time it's just literally they're shooting at each other. So, it's a good movie. If you've never seen The Hunt, definitely check it out. I recommend it. Alright, next up we have another movie I can't believe I waited until 2020 to finally watch, Flash Gordon. This is the horrendous space opera based on the old Flash Gordon movie serials that would air in movie theaters, oddly enough. I'm just going to try to dive into what Flash Gordon is. This one's kind of more in the popular culture nowadays, especially because of the movie Ted kind of brought it back into the popular culture. Flash Gordon is a football player. Yes, he's a quarterback who is abducted into space because an evil space lord is coming to destroy the Earth with such things as hot hail and earthquakes and hot hail and and tsunamis and hot hail. What the hell is hot hail? They actually show it in the movie, and I still have no idea what the hell hot hail is, but they show it. Anyways, he is abducted with a reporter who turns out to be his love interest, and Flash has to try to stop the evil Ming the Merciless from destroying the Earth, and he needs to save the people of this world. And you have other worlds that Ming runs, like a world of hawk people and a world of people who are dressed like Earl Flynn and Robin Hood. It's actually a pretty good movie. It's a lot of fun. I also watched Defenders of the Universe this year, the He-Man movie with Dolph Lundgren. I watched that too this year. This one I prefer. I think Flash Gordon is the better of the two movies. I think Master of the Universe is also a pretty good movie. It's not on this list, but I think it's also a pretty good movie. But definitely, if you've got the time, check out Flash Gordon. It is worth it. You won't regret spending time with Flash. I'm sorry, that just happened. Alright, so the last movie I'm talking about this week on my channel is the movie Freaked. This is actually a pretty hard to find film. I just happened to find it one day at a local used bookstore. They had it on one of their shelves. And I had heard about it from Cinemassacre.com when they did rental reviews. They did a review on this movie, and I went, man, I wanna watch this movie. But I couldn't find a copy of it, Finally found a copy of it, watched it, and I really enjoyed it. It is, basically Alex Winter, Ted, yes, Ted from Bill and Ted, wait, no, Bill, he's Bill, Alex Winter, who is Bill in Bill and Ted, wrote and directed this movie. And actually Keanu Reeves is also in this movie, as is, the actor's name the Grim Reaper. I know the actor's name. It has just blanked on me. He is also in this movie, so it's kind of a Bill and Ted cast reunion before we get to Bill and Ted Face the Music many years later. Basically, he is an uppity, rich actor who has just signed on to be the face of an advertising campaign for a ruthless chemical company. He flies to South America to do these ads with his best friend, and they meet a girl who is an activist protesting the chemical company. They act like they're part of the protest as well, and that they're not, and that he's not famous. It's eventually found out, and they decide to go to a freak show ran by, I want to say it is Randy Quaid. I almost said Dennis, and I knew that was wrong. Ran by Randy Quaid. They end up getting kidnapped, and you find out that Randy Quaid's character has been using the chemical that Alex Winter is supposed to be sponsoring to mutate people into genetic freaks, and that's how he gets his freaks for his freak show. And he mutates the best friend and the love interest into a Siamese person, and mutates Alex Winter into a half normal face, half freaky face. And now this is all being told through flashback, because Alex Winter's character is being interviewed on an interview show in shadow, because, you know, he's grotesque. It then becomes an escape movie where everyone is plotting, where he's trying to escape the evil confines of this freak show. And you have Keanu Reeves, he plays the dog boy. Mr. T plays the bearded lady. Bobcat Goldthwait voices a sock. A dude with a foot head, I believe it is, and a sock on the foot. And the sock talks. And it's Bobcat Goldthwait, his voice. It's a weird and ridiculous movie. One of my favorite scenes is Alex Winter knocks out a milkman to escape using the milk truck. And as he is walking around, you find out the rest of the freaks had the exact same idea. So he's confronted by every other freak also dressed as a milkman, including a hammer that was genetically turned into a wrench. That's one of the freaks. It's a hammer that he genetically turned into a wrench. They do flashbacks. It's the most hilarious flashback of all of them, because it's literally Randy Quaid going into a hardware store, grabbing a hammer, and smiling maniacally at the camera, and then it cuts back to the wrench. But the wrench is dressed as a milkman as well. And they start complaining that no one's going to accept 9 milkmen on this property, and Randy Quaid looks out the window going, why the hell are there 9 milkmen? So, it's a pretty funny movie. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely worth checking out. There are other weird characters. There's a kid who is Alex Winter's biggest fan, who just keeps getting, gets thrown out of a plane at one point. Is trying to tell people about the freak show and is getting thrown through office windows. And actually, finally somebody accepts what the kid is saying, and he throws himself through the window, because that's how he exits. That's how he's been shown to exit these places. It's a really entertaining movie, and if you've never seen it before, definitely check it out. Freaked. It is worth the time you will put into it. Alright, so those were the first set, the honorable mention, and 5 movies from the remaining list. Next week, I'll give 5 more movies, plus I'll do 5 more movies. The final week will be my all-time favorite movie, and then to end this month, I'm going to do a more in-depth review of one of the movies I saw for the first time in January. So stop on back to Ranked Movies. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. Remember, don't forget to check out The Exorcist, Virtuosity, Detention, The Hunt, Flash Gordon, or Freaked. And don't forget to leave a comment if you loved one of these movies, if you hated one of these movies, you can't believe I actually said good things about one of these movies, leave a comment, and I will see you next week. Have a good one.